the head of the VA, Dr. Petzel, is the Undersecretary of Health for the Veterans Affairs. So he's on a high level in the federal government, and he oversees the VA system. And through a series of events, and this is by led in part by Michael Kravitz, a disabled Air Force veteran who works with Patients Out of Time, who's on our advisory board, and we are on the board for Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access, another organization. But anyway, through a lot of work of educating, Dr. Petzel finally, recognizes that this is a medicine good for soldiers, but because it's federally Schedule 1 and all VA doctors are federal employees, they're forbidden from recommending it. So what he did to try to help was put out a directive back in July of 2010. This directive says if you are a veteran in a state where there's a medical cannabis law, and you have a civilian physician write a recommendation for you, then the VA will honor that recommendation. So in one sense, that was a huge win. It's saying the VA recognizes that that's medicine. It says that if you're a veteran in California and you can get a recommendation, the VA will treat you okay. But on the other side, it says if you're a veteran in Virginia, tough luck. If you're a veteran in Ohio, tough luck. So, now we've got, as my husband calls it, treatment by geography, which is totally nuts. But the point here is, and then to top that all off, there's been, I don't know if people are aware of this, but the Obama administration has, in an effort to try to communicate with the people and serve the people, he's got, on the website, they've got the White House petitions, where a person can put up a petition, some issue that they want discussed or looked at by the Obama administration, and if they get at least, I think it's up now to 25,000, but at the time it was, if they got at least 5,000 signatures, then the government would respond.
Right.
And there were a whole bunch of petitions about marijuana legalization and marijuana for medical use. And unfortunately, the response came back, a typical government response, no, we need more research, this is a dangerous drug, blah, 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 we're not going to make it available, it's going to stay in Schedule 1. That was disappointing. But there was another petition calling for cannabis being made available to veterans. And that one was not lumped in with the others and wasn't answered. But about 2 days before our conference, it was answered. And it was the same kind of an answer. They let the drug czar answer it, Gil Kurlikowski, who used to be the chief of police for Seattle, so it's not a healthcare professional. We've got our drug czar answering, and basically he's saying, we care about the veterans, and we want to do whatever's right for the veterans, but boy, with marijuana, you have cognitive problems and amotivational syndrome and, all these, and it's highly addictive, and we can't have our veterans smoking marijuana, and it goes on to basically say, so no. The answer is no. And we look at that and go, that's crazy. I'm an ex-Navy nurse, so I'm a veteran. My husband did 20 years in the Navy. He's a Vietnam vet officer. So we have strong ties to the military, being military ourselves. And it's just wrong. It's wrong to expect people to go off and fight for the freedom of their country, come back terribly wounded, whether it be mentally, psychologically. Most of them, if they're in combat, they're terribly messed up from that, let alone possibly traumatic brain injury or other serious injuries, being wounded. They come back and they find through their peers that cannabis will really help them. And yet, depending on where they are, they will lose their VA benefits. They might get kicked out of treatment. If they're on active duty, they get sent to a drug rehab program. Just all of these things happen, and all they want is the medicine they know that works for them and that we know is safe. So it's gone from, that's why we keep saying this is criminal. It's criminal, the fact that we are losing soldiers to suicide because they cannot handle the horror of what they lived through. Coming back to civilian life, they just can't fit in. They can't get rid of these images in their brain. They can't control the way their body just, overreacts to so many things. And we are not allowing them this non-toxic, very helpful plant as an herbal medicine. We will not allow them to use it. It's, there's no way to explain how that makes any sense. You can't. It's cruel and it's senseless.
Yes, it is. I firmly believe that we are just being sold out on every level in regards to cannabis and hemp. So,
exactly right, and that's a good way to put it. We're being sold out on every level. Some of the other research that's going on, that I think most people don't know. If you actually take the juice of the cannabis leaf, or would want to chew up the leaf, some people don't like the taste. Frankly, I think, having some leaves mixed in with a mixed green salad, it wouldn't be a problem at all. But taking it raw, there's no psychoactive effect. So there should be no talk about it as a drug. But nutritionally, it's like 60 times the cannabinoids that you get from raw cannabis rather than smoking and heating it in some format, processing it to an oil or heating it, in baked goods or whatever. So that America is literally being deprived of a highly nutritious vegetable.
Yes.
Now, it's like, so you might not want your kid to use drugs, Mom, or whatever, and you're worried about, getting high, but it's like, you are also now, you can't even have this plant that offers so much nutrition, and especially the kind of nutrition we need to keep our endocannabinoid system healthy. And if our endocannabinoid system is healthy, as Dr. Robert Melamede says, it's the oil of life. It keeps everything running smoothly.
Right.
It's just a terrible shame, and it's Wake Up America. The information's out there. Sometimes it's hard to get, but it's there, and I think the more aware everyone can get, it's up to us. We've got to take back our country and literally fight for our right to this plant. And again, if people would just use common sense, how can our country, our government, forbid us to grow a plant? I live in Virginia, and back in colonial days, it was against the law not to grow hemp.
That's right. That was our very first marijuana law. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you literally had to grow it if you were a farmer. You had to have so much of your land use devoted to hemp because we needed it. And then when we had the marijuana prohibition, along comes World War II, they actually had to make a movie, Hemp for Victory. The U.S. Department of Agriculture made a movie, Hemp for Victory, to teach farmers how to grow hemp because we desperately needed hemp. It was essential for all the ropes, the lines on all of our ships. It was just, because of the stupid marijuana prohibition, we were out of hemp products that we needed. It's just totally crazy.
Mary Lynn, are you there?
I was just going to say, are you still with me? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It's incredible. Yeah, it is. It's incredible. Yeah, it's amazing that they would put you in jail for not growing it 100 years ago, and or not quite 100 years ago, but around that era, and they'll put you in jail for simply possessing it at this point.
Yeah. I mean, people just need to think. And, like I said, with this city council, when I was listening to the arguments about making cannabis lowest priority, and, again, they did, and that's great. And I think it's the city of Charlottesville, the police department already understand that they do recognize their job is to serve and protect, and they're more interested in dealing with violent crimes and crimes against people. But just the fact that the police are in other cities, I mean, some of them, they're making money doing it, with the asset forfeiture and all this kind of stuff. getting somebody for some cannabis crime and getting to take their assets. It's like
Sure.
a moneymaker for police. It's totally insane.
And you almost have to wonder, between the pharmaceutical company, before the oil and the loggers and every other industrial company that stands to lose from this, you have to wonder if it isn't intentionally being held from us.
Oh, yeah. And over the years, I mean, I've had different theories, and it's a lot of combinations of things, but it is. I clearly believe it's all about money.
Yeah.
And here's another interesting thing that again, people need to kind of wake up to. When we have our conferences, every faculty who speaks on it, and this is true for any accredited conference for healthcare professionals, and as soon as I explain it, I think you'll understand why. But one of the critical points is that every faculty member has to sign a disclosure statement. And so ours is about cannabis. So all of our speakers have to disclose if they are somehow making money in this area.
Oh, okay.
And think about it like if you're doing any other healthcare conference. You need to let people know if you're being paid by this pharmaceutical company to help sell their product, so that the listener there is going to say, is it really true, or is this because they're being paid to say this? And you want to have that information so you can judge the content of what the speaker says and kind of have an understanding of, is this really true, or is this because they're being paid to say it?